Shit.
do
Okay.
it.
Well, I guess we're live. What's up, everybody? I'm Dustin Coiner, Talkin Motorbikes and TrackDaz. You know. Oh, look, you got TrackDaz too, and I'm on with Ken Hill.
This is
Ken Hill's done, and he's gone and got himself all, surgeried up and everything. So, what's up, Ken?
it has been quite the off season. I tell you, I've been. It's funny. I was talking to CJ, CJ LaRoche today, and we were both. We didn't have a lot to say, but we both basically said we're climbing the fucking walls, wanting to get back out there.
Yeah.
So it's been a difficult off season, mainly just because I've got this whole knee thing, which we can talk about. But yeah, off season's been a little bit different this year. A lot more planning. He's busy. I'm busy, and I'm ready to be back out there.
You know what? I mean, it has been. I mean, since the last time we talked, like, shit, when was the last time we talked even? It seems like it's been like months.
I mean, it was right. I think it was a week or two right after Jersey, right? So
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
September, early October. So yeah, it has been a couple months.
Yeah. So since we last talked, I re-upped my deal with Yamaha with good shit there. I took on the Pirelli distributorship for my events. So TrackDaz is going to be providing its own Pirelli tire service and growing a fucking beard. Like,
What's up with that?
I don't know. I was joking that I was going to grow a Will Morton.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, that's a task right there, man.
Was it? I mean, did you grow a beard because it got like below 50 degrees in SoCal or something like that, or what?
Well, it started out as like a joke for, Movember. And then my wife was like, just keep it. I was like, no. And she's like, just keep it. So I told her I'd keep it till Christmas. And then the thing is history because it's driving me crazy. I don't know how Will does it.
I don't know. Yeah, lots going on. I mean, I had 5 weeks ago. Today is 5 weeks. I got a new knee. So I had total knee replacement. And
so do you have like the fancy titanium shit, or did you get a dead body parts?
No, it's a total knee replacement, full tie.
Wow.
I'm ready to get after it. Yeah.
So you got the brand new OEM knee instead of the refurbished used one.
Yeah, it's funny because I asked the surgeon, and this has been a long time coming. I mean, this has been about a 4 or 5 year process for me to get this done. Finally,
yeah,
get it done. Got to get a block of time because the recovery is crazy. And so, yeah, I asked the surgeon after the surgery. I said, so because you kind of want to know, you're like, am I just making this shit up, or is my knee bad? And so I said, how was it?
You're like, is it that bad, or am I just a giant pussy?
Correct. That's exactly right. Man, have you been talking to my wife? Because that's exactly.
I'm just saying, dude. Like,
so yeah. So he basically says, he goes, there was nothing really remarkable about your knee. It was all bad. So
really,
yeah. I mean, it was bone on bone. Meniscus was gone. I had no ACL or MCL in this one. And so that's causing a little bit of post surgery stuff, but
really.
So yeah, I mean, I'm 5 weeks out. I was back on a pedal bike at 2.5 weeks, even though it was slowly, but I mean, I was back on a pedal bike.
Yeah, you threw the pedal bike in the trainer, right? Because I saw your videos.
Yeah, and then I mean, actually, I rode rollers yesterday. I did 45 minutes of rollers yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was good. So I'm back at it. Today was not a good day in that world. But yeah, I mean, it is quite different, and it is there's things that they tell you that you're prepped for, and there's a lot of things they don't tell you about. Like sleep is a massive problem. I have sleep issues anyway, but
yeah,
sleep is a massive issue.
Is it sleep trying to get comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple weeks, like I almost don't remember the first couple weeks, and I was off. I mean, I stopped taking their nasty medication after a couple of days because it made me so sick.
Oh, it messes up your poop schedule, first of all. Right?
That was not good. But I mean, it just made me feel weird. So I just have been I basically been since day 4. I think I've been on 3 ibuprofen and 1 aspirin per day. That's it. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things they tell you about, a lot of things they don't tell you about. But yeah, the bottom line is we're making it happen. Going back to the issue that I have is because I had no ligaments in this knee, what happened is my extension. So when your leg is flat,
Yeah.
because my knee was trying to protect itself, it wouldn't let it bend all the way because it didn't want it being unstable. So the muscles grew together, so
Right.
my knee would protect itself. So now I'm having to break through that to get my leg to lay flat. So flexion's great. I'm already at 120, 121 degrees. So that's no problem. But anyway, just got to keep after it.
So this whole time that was not a strut; it was a limp.
Yes, correct. That was yeah, that was just how it was, unfortunately. But
Right
anyway.
on.
So
Right
yeah,
on.
I'm glad to get it done. I'll be a lot happier in another month or two when things have taken over. But anyway,
Right on. Yeah. So, shit, I already got a comment from somebody asking you, what's the hardest to train a rider? I don't know what that, like, it seems,
yeah,
I wish it, yeah.
yeah. I mean, if they could break that down a little bit more, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's really funny because I'm doing a talk in February. I got invited to talk at the International Sports Vision Association in San Diego. So I'm actually going to be a speaker there. And so I've been going back and doing my research so I can write my talk. And I'm going back and talking with my sort of peer group and my guys about training and how all that works. And it's funny, we all keep circling things back to essentially the fundamentals, right? There's no once the fundamentals are identified, that's just what you train for.
Right.
And you make the fundamentals better. That's just all there is. That's all there is to it. So it depends on the rider. I mean, I'll give you a great example with CJ this year. Is we know CJ can run a lap time. We know he can run the lap time late in the race. We're struggling with the early part of the race or Q. So our off-season training is going to be centered around our Q, and it's going to be centered around running our first and second lap faster. So
Okay.
you're going to train on what's holding you back. So you go and work
Right.
on what's holding you back, you identify it, and then you come up with your training protocol for it. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So Pinky says that, as far as like the hardest thing to train, like what's the hardest to train a rider when they're learning a line or braking or apexing a turn?
Yeah, no. So I mean, a lot of the base of the fundamentals are pretty simple, right? So when we look at the fundamentals, or at least the fundamentals that I have, which is we look at bike placement, right? Where we need to be. We look at our
Right.
vision and focus. We look at our motor controls, brake adjustability, turn and rate, turn and point, and then body position. Those are the fundamentals in the correct order.
Right.
I would say the thing that we struggle with the most is, in general, feel references. Feel references, I mean, we have visual references. So
Yeah.
I can talk about that for hours, but
Yeah. Trevor Watson says getting rid of the whisk gap.
well, yeah, I mean, so feel references are by far the hardest thing. And feel
Yeah.
references are, what does a good exit feel like? What's brake pressure turn in feel like? What does the front tire moving around when you release the brake feel like? All these, there's a whole thing on feel references, and not many people talk about feel references. And that's one of the things that, like, look at a good one for you, right? Because you look at Gagne, right? Gagne hasn't ridden in say 2 months. He goes to Buttonwillow, and how fast is his third lap? It's ripping.
Like a minute 41.
Right. And it's that way because he knows what a good exit feels like. He
Right.
knows what brake pressure turn-in feels like. He knows what having the bike rotated and pointed correctly feels like. He can replicate those immediately. So
Yeah.
he can be off the bike for 2 months. And again, here I am. This is going to be the longest that I've been off of a bike in probably a decade, this little span that I'm in now. And am I worried? Am I freaked out? Of course, because I'm a motorcycle
Yeah.
racer. I'm freaked out. But I know what a good exit feels like. I know what a good brake pressure turn-in feels like. So those are the hardest things to teach. But once they're instilled with you, look at Gagne, right? Third lap
Right.
in, freaking after it,
Yeah.
because he already knows what those things feel like. So to answer that question, the hardest thing to teach is feel references.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say Gagne because you were saying that CJ was working on in the off season. He's going to work on trying to get quicker in those Q sessions and
Earlier,
like
yeah.
what the first couple laps of the race, right?
Yep.
And if you've watched Jake since he became the number one guy, right? Um, if you watch him from the word go, like from the very first lap of the weekend, he's already on.
I mean, you watch them, like you go out, if you have a spot, you'll watch them, and on their out lap of their first session, by turn 3, they're committed. They're
Right.
they're in it. They don't have
Yeah.
time to waste, right? There's no time.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you look at him versus the other guys, right?
Yep.
So the other guys will go out and they'll be out there already for 5-6 laps maybe before he even goes out. And he goes out, and within the second lap, he's already faster than everybody
So,
by like a
yeah,
second and a half. Like,
you know,
how is that?
when you're a professional, right, and you have these things built in, it's being able to access your technique on demand, right? So I don't want to have to like, dude, I need to ride here longer because I've only been here 3 times. Bullshit, right? It's like if you get a few laps in, you should be able to freaking get after it.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't need 3 or 4 sessions to warm up. I need a few laps because again, I have these fuel references built in and I know what a good entry or good exit feels like.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll be straight up with you, man. Like, I raced at Chuckwalla for the first time since 2019. The January of 2019 was the last time I raced out there.
Holy crap.
And so, I mean, that's been a minute. And, like my first session, I come in and on my dash, it's like 201. And I'm like, fuck, I've gone faster than this 2-up. And, I worked on some stuff, went out, did 56s and then 54s. I think I ended Friday at 54s. And then, we changed gearing and stuff. And then first session Saturday morning was a 53. And then I got into the 52s.
Nice.
And, I was just kind of like getting going, like, oh yeah, the brake lever. That's right. You got to let go of that fucking thing. And,
well, Chuckwalla is its own little beast when it comes to that, right? There's
yeah.
no
And then, I look at my photos and I could see that, like coming out of turn 3, for instance, I was giving away a shitload of free speed at the exit. And it looked like I was still leaned over halfway in that little straight between 3 and 4. I'm like, man, no wonder I was such a loser going into turn 4.
yeah, it depends on what your goals, right? If your
goals
are to win, that's one thing. If your goals are to enjoy your life, that's another. So
I was just going out and having a good time, dude. It was it was fun, Cowboy is kind of running. Cowboy's like the ops guy now. He's like running CVMA, and then Dave Waugh, who he was like a sponsor of mine like 20 years ago at a dealership. Jacob West and I got bikes through him, and the dealership he was the general manager of was sponsoring us. So and he was like my neighbor. So like I've known that guy for 20 years, and so I got some good FaceTime with him, and it seems like they're making some progress out there, like for the better, management wise. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
You see the smile, right? Like
I haven't been back to Chuckwalla in a couple of years now. But I think I was there 6 years in a row, 7 years in a row, and it definitely has its it has its own vibe. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it is such a great. I mean, it's a wonderful place, great environment. You get to run both directions, all that different stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's going a good direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right away you notice like when you roll in, I noticed that the palm trees are bigger, and I'm like, huh, okay. And then there's this giant office before the gate now.
Oh, wow.
So you got to go into this office, and dude, it is like legit. They have all their fucking merch in there, and all, you could buy your tank top, Speedo, whatever the fuck with Chuckwalla shit on it, and then, fill the form. They make you wear a wristband right there, and then you roll through the gate. And that's not the way it used to be.
I mean, it's professional.
Yeah. Like it's supposed to be like every other track we go to.
Huh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And, this is actually really funny. The cabins, I was commenting to Dave about this too. The cabins have little Chuckwalla branded shampoos and conditioner.
Sure do. Yeah, sure do. Yep.
Yeah. So the track, I mean, the surface, it looks weird. Like, honestly, rolling around, like you were saying, the visual references were all different than they were 5 years ago or whatever. But it played head games with me because the surface kind of has like a wet look to it. It's like light and then dark and then it's like reflective, kind of shiny. So that kind of fucked with my head a little bit until, you start to trust that. But it looks weird,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it just takes a little bit to get used to it. Every track's got its own little nuances when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, but there was dudes rolling. I mean, it was.
Oh, big time.
I think was it Corey Alexander and them guys were doing like what 43 something. I'm like, God damn.
High 43. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you roll out to a club weekend and you've got like Superbike pro guys out there, Fonger and Corey Alexander, et cetera, Andrew Lee. I mean, it was like hitter after hitter after hitter. I was like, God damn, these guys are rolling.
Yeah, I know it definitely has become the off-season place to go, and the people are insanely fast there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive. And, I mean, even one of the guys that you guys race with, Owen Williams, right?
Yeah.
Dude, he was ripping.
Yeah, I think Owen was coming on at the end of the season quite a bit. I mean, he had some really good tutelage, right? So he had some good people working for him.
Yeah.
Getting his stuff straightened out, and he obviously just needed some, get some more time on the bike, figuring things out.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was starting to get after it at the end of the year, the last couple of rounds anyway. So good on him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny watching this kid. I met him when he was 8,
Holy crap.
I met Owen Williams. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned my Owen Williams story on the show ever. But we were at the IMS show. We used to do the Long Beach motorcycle show thing. And this little guy comes up to us and hands me a little postcard with his shit on it. It was like he was like a Speedway kid or whatever. He comes up to me and he's all cocky as shit and, like super cocky. And I fucking love this. And he goes up to me, hands me the card and says, "Hi, I'm Owen Williams and I'll see you when I'm 14. Turns his back on me and fucking bolts.
And sure shit.
And I was like, man, that kid is my fucking hero right now, like his spirit animal shit. And, I give his dad shit about that all the time. I'm like, because I guess back then, Owen was like super shy kid. He was not the outgoing kid that would even do that. So it was kind of like that whole thing apparently was a counter to his whole personality, but I'll never forget that.
Good for him. Good for him. That's awesome.
And so like I'm out on track and the little fucker passes me in turn 4 and it's like on purpose, dude. He goes in front of me, he goes, drags his elbow a couple times. Like,
just to let you know.
Yeah, like, hey, remember me?
Yeah, letting you know.
Yeah, dude. Super funny. Super funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Steve Pettinger wants to know, like, how's that new hardware? Like, because that's a pretty invasive process, right? They cut the top of your end of your femur off, right?
Yeah, I mean, like out of all the joint replacements, the knee's the worst. Mine was bad. I mean, basically, I had bone on bone, no ligaments, and I had a bunch of bone spurs, so they actually had to cut things back a little bit. So yeah, it's not a pleasant experience. So mine's total knee. And yeah, there were some things that I just was not, they can tell you about, but you're just not prepared for. One was all your nerves have to relearn. So all the nerves that are around your knee basically get erased. Right. And they all are insanely sensitive. Like, I mean, if I'm not exaggerating, if I like blew on my knee, like blew air on my knee, it would hurt because this is how sensitive the skin was in the first week or so. So everything has to.
Did you blow on your knee to find that out?
No, I mean, it was basically, I mean, I lived for the first 2 weeks, I lived with an ice machine, and then I've got these compression boots. I just freaking lived in these things because it was miserable. But I mean, I started PT less than a week out. I mean, and that's the thing. And that's the problem is you have to do the PT, but the PT sucks, right? The PT is hell. But if you don't do it, it makes it worse. So
dude, if you don't do the PT, you could fucking die.
It's horrific. Yeah, it's horrific.
I mean, like, I'll just go out and say it. I mean, the guy's name, like, he was an old AFM #1 plate guy. Came out to Chuckwalla, raced as an amateur again. You know, he was like an AFM #1 in the early '80s, I think. Walt Nitto, and you know, from what I remember, Walt had a knee surgery. He had it was bad, and I talked to him on Monday night, and he's like, "Man, it's so bad. I can't even get up the stairs. Blah blah blah. Whatever." Dude, he was dead Monday morning, and I guess he didn't do his PT. And like a blood clot got him.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. So the blood clot thing's a big deal. I mean, it's funny. You can't even, like, for instance, if I go to the dentist now with joint replacement, if you go joint replacement, to go to the dentist, you got to take antibiotics because if something has an infection, is an issue. But yeah, blood clots are an issue. So there's some clot medicines that you have to be on for a little bit. I can't fly, so can't fly till after the 1st.
Really?
But I mean, I'm way ahead of schedule at 5 weeks, but it's also because I've been working my ass off. Probably,
right.
I get yelled at constantly for doing too much.
Yeah,
go figure.
I recognize that. Yeah, because they give you the I don't know about you, but I have this my tolerance for pain is fucked up. Like the tolerance for pain is really high. So when I'm doing PT, they have the little smiles. And they're like, "Oh, yours seem kind," so I keep going because it's like whatever, but it's bad, like
it's not a good time. It's
yeah,
not, and I've got I've got PT twice a week. I go tomorrow, and yeah, it's a nice 60-year-old lady who weighs 100 pounds that has got it's got like the thumbs of death, and so it's just it's rough, and they'll make you do things that you don't want to do, but you gotta do them.
Yeah,
you gotta shut the fuck up and do them. And so I'll do. On the off days, I've got about a 45-minute to an hour PT routine that I do, and then I'll try to ride my bike 30 to 45 minutes. And after that, I got to get off my knee after that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a big deal, but it's funny because I have to have my right knee replaced as well at some point. And my new knee is already way more stable than my other one. There's a lot of things that I can do with it already that my right one can't do. And I'm only into this 5 weeks. So I'm very optimistic. It's just I'm impatient and a little bit of a whiner when it comes to getting this done. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of dudes, my cycling coach, when I broke my back, was like, "Hey man, just go to the dispensary, get a little bite of chocolate, man, you'll be good." And he was right, and I was able to sleep, like the Kiva chocolate and the gummies and shit. Like I did that for years after breaking my back to manage the pain and stuff, and definitely got into that stuff again last year when I had that huge crash. So,
sleep is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Sleep is the first few days. I will say the first 2 weeks, I could sleep for about 3 hours. That's it, and then I'd be up. And the thing is, your leg is just completely throbbing, your knee is throbbing. And it's just very, very sensitive, and it's almost like you need blood flow through it. And now it's kind of where I can sleep for about 5 hours, but after that, it's pretty rough. And I have sleep issues anyway.
Right.
So managing sleep that's one thing where like, oh yeah, sleep's a little bit of a problem. That's about all they tell you. They don't tell you that sleep is like actually the #1 problem.
So I'm just giving you the heads up that we've passed 9,000 live viewers right now.
What the hell? Oh my god!
Yeah, it's I just nerding out on that. Yeah. So
hey. So anyway, we can talk more about knee stuff if you want. But also, did you notice? I did send out and record my "So You Want to Quit."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that all came from this show, and all those people that said, "Hey,
no shit." That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Well, normally the podcasts that I have are. Like I probably have 20 or 25 podcasts framed right now. And when I remember something or I write it down, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I got to do that. And then I just keep building on them. And then finally I'll start condensing them. But, we have multiple people say things on this show about, hey, I'm thinking about quitting, or what do you recommend? And I thought, I've never done anything on that. So I spent quite a bit of time writing out my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty long for me. It's about a 30-minute podcast, which for me is long.
Right.
But yeah, that one has been really good. So yeah, so you want to quit? That came from this, and I'm pretty happy with. It's been pretty well received.
You know what, man? I mean, I kind of I alluded to that in my race report, I think. But, this year I've gone through some shit, I mean, I had that huge crash last year, did a couple races at the beginning of the year, and I just, my shoulder is so trash. Like, it's like I basically need a whole right side, like the shoulder, knee, hip, like, and, Dr. Brian's like, you're not old enough. Stop being a pussy. And, so I've gone through some shit, like I spent the whole summer, riding bicycles and try to get my head out of the drama of the race series stuff. And, I've contemplated quitting a lot, like more than I ever have, ever. And, dude, I gotta say, I had some good chats with you and Caesar Mesa, Jacob West, and now it's like for me personally, club racing's not a huge priority anymore. It's like I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna stop doing it, but I'm also not gonna like try to do a championship or either. Like I'm just gonna kind of go out whenever the hell I feel like racing that weekend. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a different mindset, I think.
no, yeah. I mean, I've raced a lot. I mean, I don't know how many times I've lined up back in the days and the decades of racing that I did, and and then of course the coaching side of it. And I think what when I look at what makes me the happiest on a motorcycle is riding well. Meaning, when I say riding well, it's getting on any bike, any track, any conditions, any day of the week. It doesn't matter. I get on and I can ride well. And being able to do that is heaven. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Or multi-strada, great, get on it.
Yeah.
SV650, great, I'll get on it. BMW M1000, great, I'll get on it. Don't
Yeah,
care.
you say all this shit. I'm riding nothing but Yamahas, bro. So, dude, like mine is XSR 900, fucking sweet.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's like if
Yeah.
I'm going to spend the whole day, like for instance, a couple of days this year, it rained up here at the Ridge, right? And so the client that I had is like, I don't know if I want to ride in the rain. Great. I jumped on a stock SV650 with stock tires and I rode for 2 days in the rain. Had the best time. Just had the best time.
Yeah.
Riding for myself in the rain, just enjoying it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of cool things in this sport that you can do that don't necessarily, is a personal best lap time or a plastic trophy.
Yeah, my thing is like looking cooler in the wheelie, and the priorities.
That is important. Yes.
I mean, you got to make eye contact with the photographer first off, and then you have to have the front wheel turned, right? Usually,
it all makes a difference.
right? Like, I mean, you gotta throw some style in there, I mean, that's priorities, But
So, yeah.
I got some comments coming in. Let's see. Asking about Stephen Pettinger wants to know how long does the antibiotics at the dentist requirement last? That can't be good for your gut biome.
No. So it's you basically when you go to get your teeth cleaned or whatever done, you just have to take one antibiotic before you go. That's it. So that's all you got to do. So it's very simple, but it's just a precautionary thing to make sure they don't do something that causes your implant to be pissed off.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like even like the pain meds. I mean, the pain meds I got off of them. It's like 2.5 days because I couldn't deal with them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, right now I'm basically on nothing, and the only thing that will be a requirement is go to the dentist. You got to take a whatever the hell it is before you go.
And High Rev Trev, this is typical of him, Trevor. He says, "What's the warranty like on a full rebuild? Like how long before it needs to be replaced again?"
So this is actually a serious issue or at least in my mind it was, because I needed this done about 4 or 5 years ago, and I kept kicking the can down the road. I tried some alternative stuff, and I didn't want to get it done because, the whole shelf life of whatever is 20 years is what they say. But things have advanced so much, even in the last 3 to 5 years. So the trigger for me to get this done was other parts of my body were starting to get pissed off. So like, even though this is my knee, my right hip was starting to bother me because gait had changed so much. So I'm like, okay, now I don't want a hip replacement, so I got to get this done.
Hmm.
Things have changed so much that I shit you not, I walked in to the hospital at 11 a.m. and I walked out at 5 p.m.
That's gnarly.
Complete knee replacement. Yeah, and of
That's
course now once the nerve blockers wore off later the next day, it was a whole different story.
yeah.
Yeah, you walk in and you walk out, outpatient, absolutely unbelievable.
So that first night you slept okay, or like,
So yeah, actually the first night was great because I
yeah,
still had nerve blockers.
yeah,
From the second night on, it's been hell, but that's just the price you got to pay to get this done.
yeah. Okay, so let's see. Pinky was asking about if you're on Plavix. I guess that's like some kind of blood thinner.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. One
And then
aspirin a day.
he's asking like how is the XSR, dude? I rode the piss out of that thing at Turkey Days, and I tell you what, man, that thing is rad. Like it needs a few things, you know. It's the XSR is pretty long wheelbase wise. Like it's longer than my R1 is, and my R1 is
Can you
long.
wheelie it?
Dude, it's so fucking long, and the
Yeah, that's what I
gearing,
was asking, yeah.
it's hard. I mean, a little bit, but I'll get there. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, like I had to move bikes in the trailer because I was like, oh, I'll just throw this thing in the middle of the back row, and it's so close to the bike in front of it that I couldn't lock the pins in. I was like, shit, this thing's really long.
Oh wow, yeah, because the MT9 was a complete wheelie machine.
Oh
Those
yeah,
things-
yeah. Well, if you look at it, I think the MT-09, the swing arm is shorter.
Yeah,
So
great.
I don't
motor.
know. I'd like to do some gearing. I know that Coromoto is going to connect us with some brake lines. I don't think they make wheels for it yet, unfortunately. I was thinking about having my painter guy throw some glitter and metal flake and shit at it, you know, like maybe some gold leaf. You know, I
Dust
mean, I'm like lowrider shit, you know, like a total scumbag.
Customizing. Yeah, there you go.
Fuzzy dice, the whole bit, right? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future brings to that thing, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna do a shock and fork cartridges on it, and maybe some gearing, get the thing off the corner a little bit better. Revs out to the moon, quick shift, auto blip. I mean,
The
things
motors are
legit.
heaven on those bikes. I love the motors on those things.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. It's like a factory stunt bike, basically.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely a fan of those things. So
Yeah.
all right, what else? What else we got? We got
Okay, how about Johnny Simroska? This is like something that you and I talked about leading up to the show, but he says, you know, what do you guys think the MT-09 is going to do in the Hooligans class for 2024?
So yeah, I mean, this opens the door. You and I wanted to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, dude. Hello.
there's a couple-
I got
there's
a
a couple-
fucking
there's a
naked
couple
bike on my
things that-
t-shirt.
I mean, so this opens the door for a whole nother thing, right? But which is,
Right.
I mean, do we have to be riding sport bikes to make our sport real? And do we have to have this, you know, super bikes? And I get it. For me, I think it's being able to ride any motorcycle and being able to haul ass on it. And then even if you're developing the bike, it doesn't matter with the bike, right? Being able to develop it and work around whatever the parameters are. And I think that's the cool part. And the bottom line is the United States is not Europe. We
Right.
have completely different demographics. We have completely different geography. We just are the whole thing is different. So to think that we're using the same things as Europe is not necessarily the case. So we have to look at what's being sold, what the manufacturers are willing to support. So back to Super Hooligans is such a big fan of that class. I have been since it started.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the racing last year was incredible.
Oh, dude.
But how fast they went on some of these bikes was absolutely unreal. So the fact that they're opening it up to, you know, a few different bikes now, I think is great. I mean, I hate to say this, but I've mentioned it before, is I think the Hooligans class is sort of going to be like the new super sport class in 5 years. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Certainly could be. I mean, Roland's done a good job with that program, and I mean, he's like the way they've set it up is it's like created parity between all sorts of different shit. There's the air cooled category, which is like a race within a race kind of thing. Um, the one
I think
thing I have heard a bunch of people complaining about, not the writers, well, some of the writers really, about like them allowing like the B team race, the people who didn't make the cut get a race too. So I've heard some shit talking about that. Like, what do you think about that?
I do think that there's some standards we have to look at, right? This is the highest level of racing in America, and I think it you got to work your ass off to be there. I don't think it should be a given that you should be able to be there. I
Right.
remember when I got a superbike license. I mean, what you had to go through to get a superbike license, which in some ways you still have to now,
Right.
it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You just don't get a superbike license. And so, to be out there with the factory guys back when I was racing, I mean, they wanted to make sure that you weren't a complete dumbass and that you could perform. So I think that there are some standards that need to be held up to.
Right.
And whether it's twins or
It is a
singles,
professional series after
it
all.
is.
So there's
So
that.
I I I think it's great, and I appreciate people wanting to come out and trying to qualify, but yet I still think that there's some standards there. So if there's 50 Super Hooligans bikes and they're going to take whatever it is, they're going to take 32 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
there's still got to be a time cut. And if you don't make it, well, guess what? Train fucking harder. And I hate to be brutal about it,
Yeah.
but that's how it is.
I mean,
this
that's how it used to be. I mean, when AMA was back, they were doing that Willow and stuff. And, I mean, it was like, dude, if you didn't make the grid, you were going home. Or you just had a really cool spot to watch the races from all weekend, right? Like,
Trust me, I remember my first AMA race was a superbike race, and
yeah.
I was nervous about. I mean, that's when, back. I don't want to, say, oh, back in my day, but back in that time area. I mean, there were
Uphill
whatever,
both ways in snow.
in the snow. I know you had to hold a freaking potato to keep your hands warm the whole
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
But it's yeah. I mean, back then there not only you're hoping to qualify, but there'd be 40 guys trying to qualify for 32 spots or whatever it is.
Right.
And it was definitely a nail biter for sure.
Yeah.
So, and if you didn't make it, tough shit.
Yeah,
Try
dude.
it next time.
Right.
So, but to answer your question, I do think that there should be standards, and I do think that we should be looking at it as the highest level racing in America. And if you can make it, you're a freaking stud. Anybody
Yeah.
that can make a Moto America grid is a stud, period.
So Alan Rodriguez has a question. It's actually interesting. He says he wishes other brands could join the Hooligans races, and like right now it's what Indian, Harley, KTM, and I guess according to I haven't read the rule book, but he said something about the MTO
Yeah, the
9.
triples. So we've got
But then I
triples.
also saw an MTO 7, and I saw a Naked SV out there. I don't know how well they were doing, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the rule book in front of me,
Right.
but yeah, I think it's 750 and up, right? So
Yeah.
water cooled, and then they did have the air cooled thing.
well, they had a horsepower limitation as well. So it was like,
It has to be 125 factory rated horsepower,
right.
which is it's
Dick.
funny. The new KTM 990 somehow 100 more cc's only makes like 2 or 3 more horsepower than the 890.
Yeah.
Weird. It's
Yeah.
still 125. But yeah, I think now that we're also going to have, there's some Triumphs that are going to be available in that class. I think they're going to have the Yamaha and even the MV, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think, again, as I said, I think this is opening the door for some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, manufacturers making the stuff, people buying it, I mean, why not? I mean, that's the nature of racing, people start buying bikes and,
Well, and the bottom line is the OEMs are going to get involved with what's selling.
right.
And if KTM 890s are selling, then more than likely KTM's going to up their participation a little bit. They have a new model coming out. They're going to want to make sure that bike is doing well. Trust me, Indian has thrown a lot at this program.
Yeah.
When you got MotoGP rider, and you got Tyler. Tyler's obviously a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, those are not small. Those are not small potatoes when it comes to entering this thing. So
Right.
I think the manufacturers are going to want to see their bikes excel in that arena because that's what's selling. I think that's where you're going to see the OEM participation. Flip side is, I mean, look at baggers. Look
Yeah,
at the
dude.
OEM participation in baggers.
Baggers has gotten insane too.
It's a knife fight.
I mean,
And
look, this show, I have my friend Richard on all the time, right? And Richard's been pretty vocal. We've shit on the baggers a little bit, with the bagger pace car, and it's like the dude with the grease sweep, like the blower.
oh, trust me, I sat at Road America in the rain for an entire day.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but the
I
thing
guess.
is, like, I think this year, I think there were more superbikes spilling oil out on the racetrack than there was fucking baggers doing it.
Baggers
I
are getting this together.
just saying, right?
And honestly, you look at the bottom line is you look at those guys that are riding those bikes, right? You look at Hayden, right? You look at Fong and Rispoli and the Wymans. They're freaking studs, and look how fast they're going. It's unbelievable. Like, I mean, Jeremy and Tyler, it's insane how fast they're going on bikes that should not be ridden at that pace.
Yeah.
And so again, I think I think it's very cool, and I think the fact that they're getting the OEMs involved, and right now OEMs are they're throwing truckloads of money at these things because that's also what sells.
Well, in baggers, it's Harley and Indian, basically, right?
Yep, correct.
Like,
That's
like what would it take to throw the Metro Cruisers out there too? Because they all make fucking bagger shits too, right?
no clue.
I mean, I told Richard, I was like, yeah, get Yamaha built. And he's like, no. Like, it was like a hard no.
Yeah, let me think about that. No.
Yeah. I'm sure he would if Yamaha like voluntold him to, but like that's not really his focus, But I mean, I will say this, like it's been pretty impressive seeing the factory effort and the Vance and Hines effort. I mean, Vance and Hines ended up winning the thing, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Terry Vance is there, and he's completely invested in this.
yeah.
I mean, he's doing whatever it takes to win this championship, and they did. But I mean, how much time and effort it did. They're already, and I can tell you, right? We've seen it. Those guys are already out testing, right?
Oh,
So you've got those guys they're testing for next year already.
Yeah.
You just saw announced who's coming over to ride baggers this year. You said that Ruben Zaus is coming to ride
Yeah,
baggers.
yeah. He said he told me that when I saw him in Coda.
Yeah. But I mean,
I thought he was full of shit.
no, dude. He already raced at Willow. He was at Big Willow when he raced whatever that Iron whatever series that they have.
Oh, you
there.
mean the Bagger Racing League
Whatever it is, yeah.
or American
So-
Iron? I don't know.
American Iron. So anyway, but I mean, Ruben Zaus is coming over to frickin' ride baggers in America. I mean,
Dude, that dude's a stud too.
well, it's going to be interesting. So you can't ignore that. That's all there
Yeah.
is.
Like, who's he riding for?
I didn't look to see who he was riding for. I
I'm
didn't
sure
see that.
somebody will comment in the,
I'm sure they will.
Anyway,
It's cool, but I mean, the bottom line is that's what's happening. And again, I think the baggers in the Super Hooligans is very cool. I think Moto America's done a great job with them. And whether you like it or not,
yeah.
that is American racing right now. And you can either fight it or you can embrace it. And that's the reality of it.
So, the next thing, it's actually somebody's commenting about it too. It's really funny. It's like it's like, did you send out our fucking list, dude? Like,
No.
oh,
Why?
let's talk about like the paddock rumors and like the comings and goings, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, first off, you get the Ray Hall guys coming in, right? And they've hired on PJ and Kayla to do the super sport class. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think PJ is queued up to ride Superbike the following year for those guys on the Ducati.
It's funny because I was asked midway through the season I wasn't told who it was, but that there was an indie team that was wanting to come in, and they asked me some questions on just some general questions.
Yeah.
Gave them some answers. And the joke was, they're like, dude, a Moto America team? That's like one weekend of IndyCar racing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure in that regard it looks attractive, but I think they're doing it the right way. I mean, they've got obviously some very good riders. I'm sure they're getting I don't know who's on the team as far as the crew, but I'm no doubt that the crew's going to be
I mean,
top.
you got Ben Spies as the team principal.
Yeah,
He's not gonna fuck around, dude. He's probably gonna treat that shit like he's trying to win the championship again.
of
You know,
course he is. He
world
doesn't know any other
championship.
way. He doesn't know any other way.
No, dude, he's
So
on or not at all. Like
that's
that's
correct.
it, right?
No,
So
that's exactly it. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's fantastic to see those guys in there. We know it's not announced yet, but I think the Tytler's deal is pretty solid with what they're doing.
yeah. I mean,
There's
let's talk about rumors, right? I mean, obviously Cambobier still, right?
Yep.
And then JD, that's the rumor. JD is going to be with them.
Yeah,
I
I've
haven't
heard
seen a
rumor.
contract or anything, but that's the rumor.
I have heard that rumors as well. And if that's
Yeah.
the case, I mean, honestly, get the F out of their way. I mean, the both of those guys are highly motivated.
Yeah.
Bobier obviously had great feedback and made the bike work incredibly well. And you saw that feedback trickled down, right? It trickled down to both
Oh,
Corey and PJ.
oh, dude. I mean, PJ was the guy bringing it at the end of the season,
Big time. I mean, even Corey, right? I mean, Corey,
Dude, end of the season, Corey was on the box, dude.
that's correct. That's correct.
So, like, the guy, I don't know, he was like the bastard stepchild all fucking year. And then the last race, he was like, hey, I still know how to ride, fuckers. You
Oh,
know?
he was coming. No, he was coming
Yeah.
for sure. If you watched his results, he was
Yeah.
coming. So I think, that is still such a new platform. And I think that for, Dunlop tires and the way the American tracks work, they're still with gathering that. Bobier was the right guy at the right time.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that the combination, if it's Cam B and JD, man, I would not want to be betting against that. I think those guys will be super, super strong.
Yeah, and then, I do have a BMW comment, but I'm going to hold on to that because also the announcement of SDK coming back, and he's
Yep.
on a fucking Beamer too.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've read a bunch of stuff where honestly people were kind of poo-pooing, they were kind of bagging on SDK a little bit. And I think you have to be really careful to compare what was happening in Moto 2 versus what would happen here. I've witnessed, like I was there at the first time SDK jumped on a 600 many years ago, and I saw him adapt to a new bike. I I don't care what anybody thinks. SDK can ride a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
So these people that are thinking that he's washed up in this whole Moto 2 thing,
You're right.
I think you have to understand what the team aspect is in Moto 2 and how their processes work. Until you understand that, then you actually don't really get a say on how this goes. Now, do I think STK is going to be winning? No, I don't. But do I think that he's a smart rider?
He's going to be a monkey in the wrench.
Big time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Big
he's a
time.
hitter. He's a hitter, and it's like, it's even though, I mean, it seems like at the front it's going to be interesting.
The difference is I don't know anything about their crew. And I know that part of and you might have this information more than I do. I think that team seems like they're biting off a lot.
Yeah.
And if they get spread too thin, I mean, look at Richard's operation. It takes everything to run two super bikes. I mean, everything. So,
yeah. And then some.
Correct. So if that team is trying to run super bikes and a twins bike and a junior cup bike, I mean, that's going to take away from that. But the bottom line is SDK can ride a motorcycle. I'm not saying he's going to win, but don't count him. Don't count him out. Let him get some time on it. Let him get it figured out.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, the team's going to play a big part of it. Who his crew chief is, how they're looking at the data, what information they're getting, how the bike is initially referenced.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and so then, going back to the comment that I had earlier that I skipped over, Pinky said it, but like, what about the loss of the Westby team in the paddock?
Yeah.
That's so fucking sad, dude. Like, poor Trig, I mean, I guess he's got some pretty nasty health problems that are lingering, and, he's got to adjust his priorities a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was twice last year a few of us had to pick Trig up off the ground from falling over a couple of times. He's just the saint of saints.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't think of somebody. There just isn't anybody that has as big a heart as that guy. and what he wants for road racing. And I mean, the fact that he could have just said, okay, you know what, Dane's gone. I don't want to do this anymore. No, he's like, Dane would keep going. I want to keep going. And
Right.
I mean, they did some absolutely amazing things. So yeah, the loss of Westby, I think, is a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was such a like genuine environment. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just these a bunch of absolutely genuine people that
Right.
were trying to do well, and that's yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
obviously you got Fat Chuck in there being Fat Chuck, right?
love Chuck. Gotta
And
love
then
Chuck.
you've got the personality of Ed Sullivan. I mean, Ed Sullivan, that dude's something else.
He's amazing.
And,
He's
and
amazing.
what's crazy is I didn't know until Daytona
Dude,
that he
Ed's
actually could
fast.
ride.
No, Ed's fast as fuck.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that it's funny. I just actually had this conversation with one of my peer guys, right? To be able to sort of understand what it takes to be at the last 1%, you kind of have to be able to perform there. And Ed's one of those guys, right? He understands. I mean, Ed's doing this today, now, right?
Yeah.
He's in real time experiencing these things. And so when a rider talks about something, it's an absolute shortcut because it's fresh. I mean, look at like, Cornwell for a great example, right? Cornwell,
Yeah.
obviously.
Corn dog.
Yeah, I mean, look at how high a level he rode at and how well he can understand these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ed is amazing, and I don't know where he's going to end up. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere.
Yeah. I feel bad for Skoltz. I thought he was signed with them and everything is cool, and then it's like the rug pulled out from under the guy.
Yeah, it is a tough one for sure.
Yeah. So hopefully he lands somewhere and he's in the mix again,
Yep.
Hopefully
Yeah.
that works. If not, but JD Beach, when I had him on the show, JD talked about the cruel reality of the sport and how you could be a front runner guy, you could be on the box every weekend, you could win races and still at the end of the season end up with no ride next year.
Correct.
So,
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
This sport is yeah, this sport is brutal. The joke is, and I've used this in some keynote speaker talks, and this actually comes from one of my people who kind of made up this statement. But the way to describe motorcycle racing to people, how hard it is let's say you're going to go show up for your job. Well, you show up for your job and you've got to perform at 99.1% at the base. You have to perform between 99.1 and 100.1% every second you're on the job. If you're below 99, if you're at 99, you're fired. You're fired because you suck. If you're at 100.2, you've crashed and you're fired.
Wow.
And there's 30 guys outside your pit box waiting to take your job.
Oh, man.
That's motorcycle racing. It's brutal. And
Yeah. That's the reality, right?
It is.
So-
That's how it is. Yep.
So, talking about all these fucking BMWs, Mike C is commenting. He says BMW is not messing around. They've got Sylvain
Quintoli and also
and Bradley Smith
Yeah. Yeah.
as their test riders.
Correct.
Yeah. And then what's up with Xavi Flores? Like, I haven't heard anything about that dude or that team since
I haven't
the
heard
season
anything.
ended.
No, actually, I haven't heard anything even on the Superbike side, right? So
Right.
we haven't heard anything on the Heron side. Haven't heard anything on the Xavi side at all. I mean, they have to come back. At least I would assume, right? I mean, they've won championship in Super Sport 2 years in a row.
Right.
That's been great for Ducati.
They were competitive in Superbike on occasion.
When the moon was at the right
You
altitude.
got to stick your tongue out like 4 millimeters to the left.
Yeah, stand on
Wink,
left.
stand on one
Stand on
left
your
foot.
left-
Wink
yeah.
one eye.
Correct. Chanting. Yeah, I know. But the bottom line is that they did have some good performances. So
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything on that front.
Yeah. And then actually, good point. Trevor actually has a couple of points, but he says BMW quote cheater bike in stock 1000, but a whole different animal in Superbike. Cheater bike in stock 1000. You wanna field that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that bike is at a much higher spec electronics wise than any other,
Well, let's
production
see.
bike.
You got a $18,000 bike versus a 40 something thousand.
Yeah, they're
It's like
just
a
at,
homologation special that they've allowed to race in stock thousand.
correct. I mean, their stock 1000 bike is at, I mean, it's at a base super bike level basically,
Right.
and it just has a better electronics package. Obviously, it's fast. I know talking to JD and I know talking to Cam, the first thing that they said, same thing with Top Rack, they could not believe how fast that motorcycle was. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just like absolutely insane how fast it was.
Yeah.
And you watch Hayden in Stock 1000, who's riding not a slow motorcycle, and you watch how easily the Beamers can go around his bike. So I think the stock one in the stock 1000 form, the BMW just starts at a much higher spec, but it's mainly on the electronic side. Yeah, the engine's got more performance for sure. I don't think the chassis. I think the chassis still needs some work, but they're getting away with it once they figured out a little bit how to ride it. And the way that's dovetailed over to Superbike is, I think that it's not that the BMW team has not had people that have been able to ride the bike well. It's just they haven't had people to provide that last 1%, 0.01% feedback that's been necessary.
Right.
And we saw that as soon as Cam B got on that bike and started figuring it out and had good feedback for it. I mean, look at the experience of how many years, working on Yamaha and Richard. I mean,
Yeah.
he knows, and that's what accelerated their program.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's still some really good things that are. I think the Beamer's just honestly at the bottom level of where it's going to be. I think the bike's going to continue to develop and go up.
So the other thing, I mean, Trevor was saying, like, what happened to the Orange Cat guys? Like, I haven't heard anything about those guys.
I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about that team other than saying hi to the riders that I know.
Yeah.
Uh, I heard that they were done, and then there were some rumors now that they're going to be coming back because they couldn't sell all their stuff. So they thought, oh hell, we're going to come back and do it. So I don't know. I hope they come back. They were just, I mean, they put on such a great show. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they can get back. I think the deal with them is that they were going to try to continue if the riders could bring the funding for it.
Yeah. And then, what the fuck was the name of that team that Hayden Gillen rode for again? The Orange Disrupt. Yeah. So, like, what's the rumors with Disrupt? Because speaking of selling all their shit, word on the street is like they're going Honda.
So that's the word. That's the only word that I have.
Yeah.
I've not really talked to Hayden. The times that I chatted with him, we actually didn't really talk about that stuff. We talked about other crap, other life crap.
Yeah.
Obviously, his bagger program's going well. But yes, I heard the same thing that they're going to Honda if they do come back. I know Jesse put some posts out. The team owner put some posts out saying we're not done yet. So who knows?
Well, there was like that. It was a social media post that just had 2024 on it.
Yep.
And so, it's like, oh, well, if you're still racing in 2024, then why are you selling all your shit? So it's kind of like that's what fed the rumor mill. Like, oh, they must be that Honda team everybody's been talking to about.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. We don't know. Of course, that's a new bike that just came out too that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be another one of those box full of neutrals, right?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Honda's definitely lost its way. I hope we'll see what happens. But I mean, even the previous gen CBR 1000, unless it had the right electronics and the same thing, standing on one foot, cross-legged, it wouldn't work. Work great in some areas, but not so much in others.
This is actually an interesting comment from Buy a Jet from Steve Main. That's a long name, first of all. He says, super sad about Westby, big loss, but great news from Harley Davidson today regarding contingency money to Moto America.
Oh, I saw that. Big money.
Like, I didn't see that. What's,
yeah. Yeah, so it didn't have the payouts, but the payouts, I think, are from 1st to 10th. And I think there's a $35,000 Harley bonus for whoever wins the championship.
Shut up.
35 grand and 20 grand for Hooligan.
That's healthy.
1st or 10th, yeah. So again, this goes back to our prior conversation, which is Harley's like, get the F out of my way. We're serious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that when there's big money on the line, the riders flock to that shit too because they want a piece of it, right? It like brings back the memories of the old bounty hunter days,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at this and I think it is a complete positive. I know people are
That doesn't sound like a sideshow, is what I'm saying.
no, but I think again, I think if you're a good motorcycle racer, one of my criteria is being able to ride anything, anywhere, anytime. Just shut up and get on it and ride. And that's sort of the hallmark of it.
Yeah.
So here we've got manufacturers putting money in. If that's the bike, who cares? If you're getting paid to ride a
Right.
motorcycle, shut up and ride the bike.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of comments, I think these are kind of joking, but like I heard Kerry Andrews going to run the Honda team. And then, but the reality is like, he says, and this is actually real, like, why can't Graves run the factory Kawasaki team? And I don't know if you've ever spoken to Chuck about this, but I'll say it because I talked to Chuck a few times over the years. Like, we're not like best buddies or anything like that, but like I definitely have spoken to him quite a bit. And I think Chuck's reasoning behind not doing the Moto America thing is because he needs a check to do it, and the check's not there yet. So
I mean, I know Chuck fairly well, and Chuck and I talk, and I've been involved with.
that's pretty simple terms.
Yeah, I mean, no. And honestly, you're not wrong. But there's a second part to it, is that Chuck wants to be in a position to win. And if he doesn't have the budget, he doesn't have the team, and he doesn't have the equipment, he's not interested in doing it.
Right.
So he doesn't want to be there to be a 5th place guy. He wants to be, if he's going to do it, he wants to win championships.
Yeah.
It takes money, it takes a team, and it takes the right equipment to make it happen. So yeah, it's money, but it's also the second part is he needs the opportunity. And if the opportunity is not there, which is having a bike that's capable of doing it, having riders that are capable of doing it, he's not interested. And I get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he ran the factory Yamaha Super Sport effort for years,
Yep.
for like 20 years, right? And so I'd like to think that he kind of knows what the fuck he's talking about when that kind of, you can't win that many championships over 20 years and not know that. But maybe he has expectations based on that experience too.
I have a lot of experience with Chuck and their whole operation. And honestly, people can say what they want. Their shit is first class. Their stuff is super professional.
Yeah.
And they work insanely hard to bring the best stuff out. Let's put it this way. If people are thinking their stuff is out of date or whatever it is, the person that won the last Super Sport race at New Jersey was riding one of Chuck's motors that he bought from our team. So here is, you're thinking, oh, well, you need, outdated. Well, they put that motor in and that person won the race. I mean, their stuff is good. That's all there is to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they certainly knew their way around the R6. That's for sure.
Oh,
right.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, they only built like 1,100 of them. Yeah.
They're great
Right?
bikes. Yeah, they're great bikes.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was talking to a club racer yesterday, and we were talking about this dude that he was like an amateur guy that, people were accusing of being a sandbagger and stuff. This is about 10 years ago, something like that. And this dude was like, he got a bunch of money because he was this he was Dr. Green Thumb, basically. He developed some like strain of weed that was like sick, I guess. And so the dude would just come and he just had all this money. So he had Graves bikes and all that, right? And the dude was doing like 49s as an amateur. Like 3 race weekends in, dude's already doing 49s. So
But see, that's the thing, right? They sell a package at freaking Works. I mean, I witnessed it because I was there. We took delivery of our 2018 Graves bikes on the Rick team. We took delivery of them at Chuckwalla.
Yeah.
And we didn't change anything besides front fork springs. That was it. We changed, put lighter springs in the fork. And this is in 2018. And I saw Hayden in 2018 rip a 44-1 on a 600.
Yeah.
So that bike was as delivered. So they sell the entire package, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the motor, it's not just it's everything together.
Yeah, I mean, like Attack does it too. I mean, they sold probably
100%.
40. I think they've sold in the last couple of years, they've sold like 40 R6s. And
Yeah.
I mean, they're full kits, next gen super sport. They made a run. I think they did like 10 Daytona bikes, like fucking quick change, tank, fucking everything, right?
You
They did
know,
like 10 of those, like $50,000 R6s.
yeah, but here's the thing, right? I mean, I don't want to be in bike development. I want nothing to do with bike development. I want to
Yeah,
be in rider development.
right.
And so when you look at how much money it costs to do bike development, if I went out and bought a stock R6, how much money would it take me to develop that bike to be competitive?
Well, like I
It's
said, you could spend, for a super sport, not Daytona, but for super sport, it was like 40 grand, right?
yeah, yeah.
And that's
So
everything. It's like bike comes with everything you need to go racing.
it in the long run, you're saving yourself time and money by doing it that way. So yeah, as rough as it is.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, same thing, and on a club level, you look at what Bryce done, right? Like
Yep.
Bryce has 8 million. You've been to a club race in the last couple of years. Like it seems like AFM, CRA, CVMA to some extent. I mean, it's like the fucking Bryce Prince BPR mafia, you know?
Yeah, and he's racing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
and he's racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nuts.
So what do you think of that new Cowie 400 thing?
So I have not ridden one yet. I am dying to ride one, and I'm sure I'll ride one here. I think I'm going to have one available probably in February or March to ride. So I like it, and I like it because I feel like it is a little bit more of a step between quote a beginner's bike and say a 600. Whereas, the junior cup kids, they're riding these junior cup bikes and then they go to a 600 and it's a pretty big step.
Yeah.
I feel like this is sort of a gap in between those.
Yeah.
Same, the power characteristics, the way the bike works. So yeah, I mean, I'm except for the price, I'm a pretty big fan.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
weird that the 400 is what 600s used to cost.
Holy
Right?
crap! Holy crap!
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like 10 grand, right? Just about? Just
I
shy
think
of 10 grand?
I think they're more than that.
Oh, are they? Shit.
Yeah,
They're more than 600s.
Yeah, and they make good power. I mean, I think they're just an ECU flash, and they make whatever
Yeah.
70 something freaking horsepower. And I know they can go a lot higher than that.
Yeah,
I've
that
heard-
bike
heard-
makes me glad to be out of that side of the racing.
Oh my god, I've heard some numbers on some bikes that are getting developed that are
Yeah.
very stout.
Well, I mean, like when you're part of government, you have to field the commentary and deal with the ridership. And, I know that based on my experience working with, when I was doing the CVMA thing, I mean, not so much Willow, because Willow was still just like the 250 thing was just the Cowie 250. And it was like the same old forever. But, man, when I did the CVMA thing and then CRA too, it's like Cowie always found a way to fuck the little bike class up, right? Because it was like the Ninja 250 Cup thing, right? And no big deal. Everybody's on them. When
300.
CVMA started, there was like 30 or 40 of those fucking things, the Ninja 250s. And then the 300 came out, and it's like, then the mob of the 250 pit revolted. They're like, oh, if you let that thing in there,
then the
it's going to be the end of the world.
The R3 is a 320.
Well,
right?
yeah, because, I mean, Cowie can't be out,
Of course.
So is Yamaha going to come out with a 420?
Who the hell knows? But
Like an R4? That's what we need. We need an R4 now. Like a four-cylinder 400 with stuffed in a miniature R6 chassis.
well, I definitely would like to see some new stuff coming out. I mean, good for Cowie to bring that out. I think Yamaha's got to step up a little bit. They've got some
Yeah.
cool bikes for sure, but I would love to, obviously we want to see this R9.
Yeah.
We know all the gossip on it, but we don't know really what the nuts and bolts of what it's going to be yet.
Right.
So I don't know. Hopefully, we'll see something good on that.
You know what? This is actually a couple of interesting comments coming in to Trevor's mentioning about there's basically zero prize money now in Motor America, which is going to stop racers from fixing races to get a bigger paycheck than they could ever win from Motor America. Riders are fixing races. Is that a thing?
I don't know. I don't know anything. I haven't heard that. The prize money is not too bad, especially if you're Premier. I mean,
Right.
Premier is great. We got Premier last year. We got Premier
Hmm.
again this year. Premier is wonderful. So for Premiers, basically, yeah, you pay a little bit more, but you're getting guaranteed money back.
Yeah.
Premier is wonderful. Trust me, I've been in Super Sport for sure, and I can tell you, also in Junior Cup, no one is giving up a place for any of those things. They all will knife each other on every corner to get a position.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any of that in my
I
watch
think they're
for sure.
talking about betting.
Oh, that's right. There's that whole new betting thing going on, which I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
I'm in the motorsports industry. I don't have any money, so I can never do that anyway.
Yeah. I don't bet. I don't even like going to Vegas except to eat.
Still, some of my favorite racetracks are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, going back to the 400 thing, Aprilia's got that like 452 thing or 457 or whatever the fuck it's called.
I don't know much about that one.
It
I've
looks
heard about it.
legit. It looks like
It
a
does
real
look like
bike.
it does look legit. I haven't heard much about that, and that'd be another one that I'd love to get my freaking hands on. Those things are
Yeah.
so fun.
And then potentially homologating the RSV to a superbike. It's
Yeah,
1100 though.
yeah, but you know what? I hate to say that they've. Okay,
Did they like wait too long?
so I think there's a couple things there. I think for stock 1000 that could be a little bit of an issue because you're dealing with some of the factory parameters. So
Right.
the bikes that are 1000 cc's can't necessarily maybe get up to that performance level. They're all so fast anyway.
Right.
On the superbike end, they all make so much freaking power. You're dealing with electronics anyway. So
Yeah.
whether it's making whatever 210 or 222, it almost doesn't matter. It's more on the electronic side and how the electronics is dealt with. I'd love to see Aprilia in there. I think the more the merrier. And maybe it's something where they give them a year shot. Maybe it's something, hey, you know what? We're going to give you a year, 2 year shot. Let's see what happens, and we reserve the right to either balance this thing or do something if we need to.
Yeah. It'd be cool if they did what everybody else did and just made 1,000.
There is that. There is that. Of course, we've got Ducatis that have, a 959 freaking middleweight bike. But
Right. Yeah, the 1100. Might as well just run it in the super sport. No?
No, man. I I mean that whole deal. I mean, I understand the next gen thing, and I get how that is, but yeah, the bottom line is we're on a 750 now. I mean, we had a
Yeah.
750 because we tried, and when we looked at going to the next level on an R6, it did not make sense. So yeah, we're on 750s because that's where you got to be. So, yep.
So Trevor's saying that the Aprilia is allowed in stock 1,000 now with added weight. But what if you're not built like Peter Pan and carry weight naturally? I fucking love that he uses that "not built like Peter Pan" reference. Like I still have somebody's supposed to be making me artwork for a T-shirt for that, but yeah, he's like, "Oh, we're not built like Peter Pan." He's kind of a big fella. He's not quite Teamster cut, but like not quite normal jockey size.
Yeah, I think on 1,000, I mean the weight isn't as big a deal. I mean, look at Hayden, right? I mean, Hayden was on a little bit of an underdog bike,
Yeah,
and Hayden, and I know from having worked with Hayden so much, Hayden's on the light side at 180. And I don't think he was at 180 this year. He was more than that, is my guess. So yeah, on 1,000 it can hold you back, but it's not going to hold you back like it is on the small bikes for sure. So I don't know. I don't know how much the weight is. I think isn't it like 12 pounds or something like that? I
He
can't
says
remember.
there's a 6 kilo weight
Kilos, 12
penalty
pounds.
going
Yeah.
on. I
Well,
don't know if that's for Superbike or if that's super or stock thousand. I don't really know, but
I
it would be
if
cool to see another. What I'm saying is, it would be cool to see another semi and another effort in the Superbike class.
if I had access to Aprilia connections and Aprilia sponsorship and an Aprilia pipeline, I would not let 6 kgs and rider weight factor into my decision. I
There you
mean, I
go.
think that is not that big of a deal. You're going to have to be working around what the rider's going to be able to do, what setup is, and what you can do with electronics. Plus, you can make more power.
Right.
So I don't know. I wouldn't let those things stand in my way.
So let me just throw down on you. I'm gonna pin you down. It's the
Oh,
end of this. It's the end of the year. We got Christmas coming up on what, Monday. Who do you think's gonna take the title for Superbike next year here in Moto America?
dude,
Who's the Ken
I
Hill predictions? We're
shit.
we're live
I
on YouTube, man. Like YouTube won't forget.
no. Oh God, no, 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 no,
I
no. I'm
mean,
sure.
is it really like, can you really bet against Jake Gagne? I mean,
So the thing, it's really interesting because I do think, and I'll go out a little bit on a limb and say this, and I know we've got Richard, and he's got Richard in his corner, right?
yeah,
Richard's never going to rest, but that also comes with, as Richard pushes, as you well know, sometimes he pushes too far because he has to. He has no choice.
is there such a thing as too far?
When the motors pop or whatever you got issues with, or you're playing with the fuel, maybe the fuel's going to be better for him this year. I
I
don't
hope
know.
so.
So the thing about Jake, though, even though he has Richard in his corner, is, and you know this, Jake has yet to not find another gear. The dude can always step it up.
Yeah,
And that's the thing about Jake where I have a difficulty betting against Jake because he can always find another gear. And he's done it every single year.
yeah,
So I mean, I'd love to see Camby. I'd love to see JD up there. I mean, all those guys are just I'm fans of all of those guys.
yeah. Me too.
Um, so I mean, who would I want to see win the championship? JD. Sorry.
Of course.
I mean, how can I
I mean,
not?
JD's like everybody's fan favorite
How
too.
can I
Like
not? How can I not?
when I did the show with him, like after, when we stopped recording, my wife came in and was like, we were talking to JD for like another half an hour after the
Dude,
show ended.
he's so. I mean, not only is
Such a
this the
good dude.
not only is this the most, yeah, he's such a good dude. He's so genuine. No one works harder than that guy. And he's so fast. He'll do whatever it takes. If you say, go do this for a 10th, he's going to go do it. So, yeah, I don't know. If I had if my favorite to win the championship would be JD. Now,
Yeah.
who do I think is going to win the championship? I'm going to go with Gagne. And the reason is because he is yet to, I'm not going to, it's hard to bet against Richard. And it's hard because with Jake is that he's always found extra speed when he needs it. So now, yeah, maybe we'll give him the curse. I don't know, but that's where it's at.
Yeah, man. And then obviously Super Sport, who do you think there? I mean, I gotta say PJ.
I'm going to say PJ. I mean,
Yep.
so part of the PJ thing. So the one thing on the Ducati thing is interesting. I'd be interested to know where they're getting their bikes, if those are factory built bikes or what. Another reason I say that is because I do believe, and people can tell me I'm full of shit, but I do believe that there was a decent amount of factory effort with Chavi's
Oh, 100%.
situation. So
We saw
unless
legit red shirts in their fucking pit,
of course, I know, of course. So, even though I think that bike is balanced well, it's still handling wise works incredibly well. They're able to get up to set up very quickly. They just had a really great dynamic. I mean, Brian was a crew chief. He did, I mean, amazing job being able to get that going. But that said, I do think that there was a very direct connection on the factory. So if they don't have that, I do think that that's going to handicap them a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Kayla's going to be interesting. I don't think Kayla's necessarily going to be a total front runner, but I think she's going to be there. I think she's got a lot to learn. And I think, obviously on that bike, it's got a lot of different characteristics than what she's been used to, even though I know she's already riding one.
And she, she did podium in super sport on a bike that wasn't hers all year.
Yep. Yeah.
In the rain,
Impressive.
gotta
Yeah,
throw that in there. But dude, she seems legit. Like,
Yep.
I guess we'll see,
Find out.
And
Yes.
and I don't know anything about Junior Cup or Twins or like who's in that, but
Yeah.
how about Stock 1000? Who do you think's going there?
It depends on who's going to show. I mean, It depends a little bit on where we're going to show up. I don't know if
like Ezra nearly got it, but then he got sick.
I don't know who's riding. So we haven't seen on all those people that are riding, but I think Stock 1000 is open to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that could take that. So yeah, we'll see.
And then here's a question. Here's I'm gonna make this the last question, but Pinky, we didn't even get the MotoGP shit or World Superbike. Fucking, we've been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes, man.
I know, and I was all jacked. I watched so much of the MotoGP last weekend in the test. I was all jacked up over that too.
I know. We sat and talked about American stuff because we're in America. Like,
damn it.
It's all right, dude. Like, I don't want to sit here. I'm not fucking Rogan, dude. I'm not doing 4 hours, okay?
No, ixnay on that.
Yeah, but Pinky has a question, and it's why do you think we don't see more Americans in like World Supersport?
So I still think that what people need to understand is that the dynamic on how racing works in Europe versus how racing works in America are two totally different things. And over there, anything that's on the world stage, so World Supersport, World Superbike, Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP, even the CEV series are incredibly professional, and they have a big team dynamic. I mean, when I was over and did some of the Moto 2 stuff, I mean, there's 2 data guys for every rider, and that's how it is.
Well, I mean, I told you I went to Portugal, and like even the privateer dudes, even the privateer, they're rolling the big semi. They got a cup of tea guy. I mean, like it's yeah.
So I think it's just a whole level of professionalism and process that we don't develop here in the U.S. And
it's also like a pride thing, right? Because it was like there's the French guys, there's the Swiss dudes, there's, like I saw our 6 teams that were from all over all over Europe, not just one part of Europe.
I think that's the difference between what's happening in America and what's happening in Europe, is that to go to Europe, I've always felt that let's take Kayla. All right, Kayla's going to go to Europe. Awesome. She needs somebody to give her a 5-year commitment. And that sounds like a long time, but it's actually not. I mean, you look at Bobier. Bobier was there for a couple of years. Honestly, I'll say it. I think his team sucked. I mean, that environment, I don't think was a good environment. So it certainly didn't highlight him as a rider. But I think that going there when you don't know the tracks, you don't know the process, right? Those guys are working a process with their rider coaches and data and how they do things. All of that is taught at a very young age, and you develop this as you go through. And we just don't have that process here in the U.S. as much as they do. So why aren't we seeing more people in World Supersport? One, it also costs a lot of money. There's a World Supersport ride. It's probably, it's a minimum of $250 US, probably $350 US for a World Supersport ride. And that's, Moto 3, I think Moto 3 costs more than Moto 2. So I don't think you can even look at a Moto 2 ride for less than $300 or $400 US.
Right.
So one, it's the money, and then 2, you got to have the chops. And if you don't have the chops, you got to be able to spend the money for the long haul so you can develop it.
Right.
So yeah, it is tough, but
if it was easy, everybody'd do it.
I know it's so hard. It's basically money and time, which is of course the story of all of our lives.
Right.
But having the money and then having the time and being able to learn not only the tracks but the way their processes are, because their processes are quite a bit different than ours. That's the reality of it.
Well, right on, man. Well, Ken, good chatting with you, man. This is the last one of the year for you. I guess we'll connect again maybe after your guys' first test, right?
Yeah, we've got, oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, again, climbing the walls. Our plan right now is we're going to be doing a lot at Jennings. We've got multiple dates, Jennings, January, February, March. Got a
Yeah.
list of stuff that we're working on. We're going to be doing a little bit of dirt bike riding as well.
Nice.
I'm going to get my best to get healed up and ready to get after
I'm
it.
gonna try to scumbag you guys into invite me to one of them tests
Dude, you
to
should.
come play. But
Dude.
you know, I'm with Richard too, man. Like I've been kind of working for that as well, like scheduling some tests in the off season. We're gonna go. I think we're gonna go do a test at Podium Club, which is cool.
Yep.
And
Different track. That's awesome.
yeah, we're gonna do a couple of 2-day tests there, and then obviously we're going back to Button Willow. And who knows, man? Maybe we'll get to sample that new Button Willow pavement too. Fuck, we
Is
didn't
it
even
all-
talk about all the new pavement everywhere.
Oh, dude, everywhere.
I feel
God
like
dang it.
holy shit, we're like almost an hour and a half in. We didn't talk about new
All right,
pavement anywhere.
All right, that's fine. We're gonna hold on. Let's keep talking for another
Yeah.
few minutes because we got
Yeah.
some cool.
Okay. Sonoma is getting repaved.
Dude,
Button
Sonoma.
Willow's
Yes.
Button Willow's second track is the first layer is down right now.
Oh my God,
But yeah, I'm gonna go ride my bicycle on it. I think Friday just to capture some
dude,
video.
get video. Get video.
Oh, of course. I got a
Yeah.
GoPro mount on the fucking bicycle, man. Come on now.
Good,
It's
good.
me. And then you know, and then obviously we have the Podium Club out there in Arizona within a couple of hours, and then you know, talking to that Dave Waugh manager guy at Chuckwalla, I guess a second track could be in the works at some point too. I think they got to finalize their little changes first.
Yeah, and also Mid Ohio, right? So Mid Ohio's
Yeah.
getting paid, and Mid Ohio is epic. I mean, I don't have.
Are
I
we
don't-
like in a new pavement boom right now?
Dude,
Like,
it's freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome. I mean, anybody that's listening to this, you know, riding on right? You go to Laguna, you're like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
is the best.
yeah.
So yeah, we are in a new pavement boom right now, and it is freaking awesome.
Oh, and apparently Angeles Crest Highway got repaved. That's Pinky says that, but yeah, it did. I think yeah,
Oh, that's
because
pretty
of the
cool.
fires and shit. So
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of cool things happening right now, for sure. So
yeah,
best thing we do is just freaking stay on top of it.
yeah.
and-
I mean, it could mean that you know, with new pavement, do you think Motor America could come back to Sonoma, have another West
I
Coast
would love.
route?
I'd love to see that. I mean, I think Sonoma's pretty epic, and it's not. I mean, that's the track that I obviously my first lap ever on a track was at Sonoma. My best AMA finishes were there, so I love that track, and I think the riders also really like it, even though there's some sketch parts. They've cleaned a lot of that up.
Yeah,
Always had great crowds, massive crowds there. So I'd love to see him go back to Sonoma. I think that would be totally fantastic. So hopefully.
well, good chatting you up, Ken. Yeah, you have a Merry Christmas and stuff. I mean,
Thanks,
shit,
yeah,
dude, that was a fun one, man. Holy
Yeah, it's
shit.
good. I'm glad. These are super fun to do, and I enjoy them. And again, if I can learn something, then I mean, again, goes back to the podcast that I did. That I
Yeah.
learned something, right? So if I can learn
And
something-
seriously, thanks to everybody for watching this thing too. I did see just shy of 13,000 viewers
no
live.
way. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's
Yeah,
insane.
I was like, it was like 12.9 something. I was like, get the fuck out of here! Like, thank you. You know, please share it around, comment all that later. All the YouTube
Sign
stuff.
up for my Substack, goddammit.
What?
Sign up for my Substack, goddammit. It's
Yeah,
free.
that too. He's
It's
got a
free.
Substack. I'll put a link
free.
to it in the description once you send it to me.
Yeah, and that actually the Substack. I mean, that's one of the directions I've been going is to have one hub for everything that I'm doing, and there's a free section on there. There's a bunch of stuff on there, and I want to have conversations with people. So that's how it's set up.
Dude.
And so I mean, I want everything in one place. So
I
go to my-
thought I saw you send a link to the so you're thinking about quitting thing on the Substack. So
It's on there. It's
Yeah.
on there. So
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, so it was 12,000. I sent you a screenshot. It's like 12,800 and something, but I saw 12,900 something before that.
nice, nice.
So I was
All
like,
right,
shit.
well,
Anyway,
well,
well, good chatting you up, man.
yeah, thanks everyone for coming on here, and these are super fun to do. And again, we even though Dustin we sit here and freaking cluck like freaking hens or whatever it is. We also want your input. So
Yeah.
these are things that we want to do for you, and if you got topics or things you want to talk about, I mean, Dustin and I kind of throw some shit back, but we have no clue what we're just going to start talking, and that's
Yeah,
what we
our
do.
agenda is that we have no agenda.
That's correct.
So it's fun. It's fun because it's like
Totally.
off the cuff and it's real. Appreciate
Awesome.
it. All right, man. We'll
Thanks.
see you next time.